Chapter 53, Post-Paralympics, 2008. I had finally realised my dream of swimming at the Paralympic Games, but it didn't feel like it. I had originally wanted to swim in London 2012 Paralympics, not Beijing. Beijing just got in the way. I had started with nothing, 40 hours per week at work, 3 hours coaching in 2 different towns, taekwondo for 2 hours, and travelling miles to get any pool time for myself. It was Bernie Nichols, my coach at the time, who introduced me to Steve Fiveash. He told me how I could get funding. He lit the torch, saying that there is funding available for swimmers who have met the criteria. I found it hard travelling to the pools and working full-time, but I swam well in the national competitions, winning a number of races and gaining a qualifying time for Beijing. I had also won 2 European record times with my swims. It was here when I knew I could be the best in the world. My family was very pessimistic, as they were very scared that I was going to get sick. Why can't they be strong when they know how hard I have already fallen? I needed their strength then, more than they will ever know. I wanted to get the funding and was offered it halfway through the year, even though this is generally not allowed. Steve was told that he was not allowed to coach me, so I had to find another coach. Cherie Baker was a 21-year-old girl who had a few years' experience coaching young club swimmers, but probably didn't know how to train a disabled swimmer. Cherie worked hard coaching me for a while. I was swimming against professional swimmers, and I was trying to swim as a part-time swimmer. I was taking big steps by trying to compete against them. I quickly proved that I was an able swimmer, but I wanted the chance to race as well as I train. I wanted the funding. I woke up early every morning and stayed awake until at least 11 at night. I was trying to do everything. I did a lot of training at the weekend because that was when there was more pool time. I was training in public sessions, so part of my time was spent overtaking members of the public. The funding was good as it gave me an opportunity to stop working 7 weeks prior to Beijing and to concentrate on the Paralympics that were fast approaching. Steve introduced me to Billy Pye over the phone, and so I went to meet Billy in Swansea, as this was where I could train full-time. Billy had 30 years' experience. He was at the top of the tree. He could definitely help me to reach my goals. 7 weeks of training before I went to the Paralympics, I had 2 European records and was new to funding. I trusted Billy to help me get what I wanted. My funding was taken away from me after the Paralympics because of the bad swims. It is hard to take when the reason for me swimming badly was beyond my control. I enjoy stability, and I was given a new coach for the Paralympics when I had just changed coaches anyway. I might have swam bad anyway, but a few weeks later I won 3 world records, thereby proving that if the taper had been better, and I had been coached with a coach that I trusted, maybe I would have swam better at the Paralympics. These, however, are still maybes, and we will never know for sure. The funding then was reduced. I had given up my job and moved countries from England to Wales to realise my dream. The dream had not survived, and here I was trying to pick up the pieces again. Why do people make it so difficult for me? Unfortunately, Beijing came a few weeks too early for me. Bring on 2012. I recorded my income and outgoings in a spreadsheet. I was losing £300 per month by being in Swansea. Although I had enough money at the moment, by losing that much money, I could soon be out of money. I was trying to represent my country, but obviously this was impractical. I was living in a deficit. I ended up cutting down on the amount of food I bought, as obviously rent and other bills were something I had to pay. Adrian often called me asking what I had eaten that day, only to get the answer of some cereal or a banana, because meat was far too expensive for me. Adrian knew I was struggling, so he often brought food for me when he visited me on the weekends. I suppose that lack of excess cash helped me with my weight loss program. Before I got sick, I was a very slender girl with no fat anywhere. But when the MS arrived and I went suddenly from training 10 hours or 10 2-hour sessions per week, plus gym sessions and runs, down to not being able to move, so I piled the weight on. My clothes increased from size 8 or 10 up to 18. I was traumatized because I had worked so hard to eat correctly and do all the exercise I could. Even when I got sick, I stayed eating almost nothing, worried that every mouthful was another size bigger in clothes. Billy Pie made me feel a little bit better about my weight, and he said with the training next year it will just drop off, which it did start to. In a meeting I had with the people in charge of swimming, I was asked whether I wanted to go to 2012. My answer was yes, but obviously, if there was no funding available, then no. I would not be able to do so. I had realised my dream. I had been to the Paralympic Games. I should have been happy, but my desire was not satisfied, as it had been messed up by an incorrect coach, among other reasons. If everything had gone right, I would have swum well at the Paralympics. I would have been a star as opposed to a depressed child trying to grow up. Maybe I should get over this dream and get on with reality. I had lived a difficult past 10 years. Why did I think it would change just because I had reached my goal? What a life. Robert James was a wonderful guy who helped me sort out my funding problems. Robert was the accountant in charge of Swim Wales and was based at the pool where I trained. Robert offered me a part-time job in the accounts department, which I loved. This gave me the ability to make up some of the debt that I was struggling with. Thanks, Robert. I often tried to repay his friendship by driving him for a drink to the local Thai restaurant. He is a wonderful person and has a heart of pure gold. Coming back from the Beijing Paralympics was better than I had anticipated. Even after winning no medals and getting only 4th, 5th and 6th place certificates, the media grabbed my story. Yeah, I hadn't done well at the Paralympics, but I was always going for the London 2012 anyway. The school where I went to for my GCSE and A-levels asked me to come and give a speech to them to try to inspire the children with my story. The Corsham Comprehensive School was the name of my school, and it is also where my mum worked as the head teacher's secretary. I couldn't wait to do this speech, and obviously the children were amazed with my story and the chance to meet an Olympian, or rather a Paralympian. This was a very special way to end Beijing 2008.